And today I'm going to be conducting an interview on my mom, Debbie. So, to give some context, she was adopted when she was a baby, and she was adopted with her brother. Well, her adopted brother, right? Okay, so I have some questions for you.
Okay.
So, my first question is, both you and your brother are adopted. Do you feel as if the environment you grew up in shaped your personality more or your genetics?
I think genetics played a larger role than our environment. Our environment was good. My parents, like to go to church. They're artistic. But we definitely have different personalities. So.
Okay, I can see that. So, how similar are you to your mom now? Your adoptive mom?
In what ways?
Like, how similar are you? How connected are you to her?
Well, I talk to her all the time. We're great friends, and she raised me. She's my mom. So,
And then, how similar are you to your birth mom?
Well, physically, I'm very similar to her.
But personality-wise?
Personality-wise, not so much. I think it was more my adopted mom's mother's raising me and teaching me values and mores and how to live and how to be, more so than my genetic ingrained personality.
Okay, so according to Ancestry.com, you have a sister, and so she has a sister named Heidi who is how many years apart from you?
She's 3.5 years older.
So she's 3.5 years older. However, she is very, very similar to you, right?
Right.
Okay, so, and you guys share the same mom, correct?
Yes.
But not the same dad.
Correct.
So, more in context, I'm very much like her, and she is, and Heidi also is very much like her. So together, we're all one. I don't think that works like that.
Well, we have a lot of the same personality style.
Right. But I also grew up with my mom. So, do you remember finding out that you were adopted?
Yes.
And what was your first thought?
Well, I was very young. I was only 4 or 5 years old, and my dad told the both of us, my brother and I, that we were adopted. And I was like, okay, no big deal.
So before he told you that you were adopted, did you think that you weren't adopted, or was there like something that was like I'm adopted?
No,
No.
I was only 4.
Okay, so you didn't give much thought into it.
No.
Okay, so you did meet your birth mother when how old were you when you met
I
your birth
was
mom?
29 or 30.
So you were 29 or 30 when you met your birth mom.
29, yeah.
And
28.
28.
Mm-hmm.
So what were your thoughts when you met your birth mother besides the physical aspects of it? Because we know that is genetic.
Well, I wanted to find out my heritage, which I'm Swedish and German. I didn't know that before. And then I wanted to find out any medical information, any history or genetically acquired diseases that could be passed over to me and possibly that I should be on the lookout for.
So when you met her, and to give a little bit of a context, they kind of had a get together when you first met her, correct?
Well, what happened was, this was before the internet. A lot of adoption records were sealed, meaning they couldn't be opened. You couldn't go in like you could a public record, like a marriage document or a divorce document. You couldn't go in and see who was your actual mother or father. The birth certificate that I have says that my adoptive parents are my mother and father.
Okay.
So my adoptive parents went through an agency. They went through their church through an agency. I contacted the agency because at that time, the state of Illinois, where I was adopted, began opening up their records in order for people to find missing.
But I
loved
mean,
ones.
like when you met her, you guys met in like a get together, right?
Well, what happened was I contacted the agency. There was a little bit of back and forth. They thought they had contacted my biological mother. It turned out not to be her, but she called them immediately and said, "Hey, I think I know who you're looking for. She works here and her last name is now what it is." And so they contacted her. She kind of put that letter in a drawer for a few months. Didn't want to have anything to do with, sort of facing this reality of this child coming back to look for her. And so the agency ended up talking with her again, and we made arrangements to meet in sort of the agency's office space in a conference room.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
And so when you first met her, did you think, like after talking to her, after a while of knowing your biological mother, you obviously got a sense of her personality. Did you feel that her personality differed from yours a lot, or not really?
Yeah, I mean, there's generational differences too. My mother is, I think, very demure, my biological mother. She didn't tell a lot of people about my adoption. She's the kind of person that likes to keep things to herself. She's not very revealing when it comes to her health and her circumstances. She's a very private person, and I'm not.
Yeah.
So yes, our personalities are different.
Okay. Again. So, my mother has a very strong background in science and medicine. She's gone to school for many years because of it. And something that is widely discussed in the nature versus nurture debate is the topic of eating problems and depression. So some say that depression is genetic, and it has been proven to be genetic, and also eating disorders too. However, your biological family tends to have eating disorders, however you do not, and neither do I. So do you think that because you didn't grow up around your biological family with some eating disorders, that you did not have one, or?
Yeah, I think it's a possibility. Sorry, I just ate some peanuts. It's a possibility that, I don't have bulimia or anorexia, and some of my biological family does. And so it's a possibility that, being that I was raised in an environment where food's just not really an issue like that, and I think in society in and of itself, and telling women how to be, how to look, how to behave, there's a lot of body dysmorphia. But I do think that, just seeing my mom as a role model, she liked to be very active when I was younger, and just be out in nature and things like that, which I enjoy too. And eating is not a problem for her. But she never got extremely overweight, which my biological mother did. And I think my biological sister saw that, didn't want to have any part of that, and developed, an eating disorder from that. And body dysmorphia, whereas, of course I always want to do my hair and do my makeup and of course do my nails, which I can't do right now in the middle of the pandemic and things like that, but I don't have any desire to, not eat for 5 or 8 days, or, and I've never wanted to be anorexic because I don't like throwing up, but I don't know, maybe that's environmental, I hope, but yeah, I think environment has a huge part of that.
Okay. So concluding statements, you you were adopted and you have lived a long life kind of, and you had me and my sister. So I need to cut this part out. I don't know how to phrase it. Okay, so concluding statements, do you think that overall it's nature or nurture that shapes a person's personality?
What do you think it is?
I think it's nurture.
Like environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously, because you're very different from your biological parents, even though like me, you and Heidi are all pretty similar. That's the one thing that's like the exception to the rule, I would say. But another person that, you know, could be looked at is Austin, who is my sister's boyfriend, who is also adopted, but he's more like his adoptive family than his biological parents, you know? So I think that also gave me that idea that it's nurture. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is. In the days, in the 70s and 80s when I was raised, a lot of parents were like opposite of what they are now. They were not helicopter parents. They just let us roam free until we came home at midnight or whatever, and they just were not paying that much attention. So a lot of my personality, my independence was shaped by hanging out with friends, going to church with friends, you know, and my parents were like busy. But other than that, they're good people, of course, and I was also shaped by the fact that they encouraged me to be very independent, and I don't know if that was like to get me out of their hair or something, but they encouraged me to be very independent, and I am, and so I think that's a big part of it, is that sort of environment.
Now, I would say that you and I are very, very similar. And I'm very independent too, but do you think that that comes from like being your daughter, or that comes from growing up by like being raised by you?
Well, I think that, I mean, genetically, you know, speaking, we have a lot of physical similarities. Cognitively speaking, we have a lot of similarities as well. You know, our thinking style is a lot the same. So I think that's shaped both by nature and nurture. And a lot of it is because I'm your mom and you look to me for that identification piece and trying to figure out what's good, what's not, you know, so.
All right, well, I think that's all I have today.
Okay, good job.